Good evening, this is Atmospheric Alex, and welcome back to another severe weather outlook and discussion. Here, coming up over the next week, we could be talking about quite an uptick in severe weather activity here for the Great Plains, and even portions a little bit further off to the east, and even portions off to the north of that as well. Will you all be impacted with large hail, damaging winds, or maybe even a couple of tornadoes? Well, find out in today's video. Alright, and as we currently take a large look at our analysis data right now, we have some snow up here across the Great Lakes to sound like a broken record, some showers and thunderstorms here across the south, and they don't look too impressive at the moment. However, if you take a look at your alert map, a bit of a different story. We are talking about a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings down here, and we're actually going to switch to our radar view and kind of poke around here. You can see we definitely do have some severe weather activity here near Oxford, Mississippi, coming into Tupelo, Mississippi. We're talking around 60-mile-an-hour winds and maybe some ping-pong, even golf ball size hail. So large hail and damaging winds is our main threat right now. You can see a few other cells here in Alabama. Look it up here. Very large hail ongoing. Actually, I want to take a moment here and look at this storm near Fayetteville in Tennessee. We have a 3-body scatter spike right here. And basically how this is all happening is you have your radar down here. It's sending out a beam like this and right into the very large hail here, and is actually contaminating our radar beam, and it is causing a lot of strange corrupted data right here. This is very typical, very common with large hailstorms. That's what we're seeing now. And as we take a look at our hail size, definitely talking around ping pong size hail. As we look over here, around quarter size, but our DBZ upwards of around 70. These are some really intense thunderstorms right over here. If you're in the path of these, here in southern Tennessee, you need to get indoors immediately. This is kind of serious. As we take a look at our current Storm Prediction Center's outlook, I don't know why, but we are now to a marginal risk of severe weather, a 1 out of 5 on the severe weather scale. We were at a 2 out of 5 slight risk earlier, and in my honest opinion, they really should have kept it. I'm not entirely sure what really happened here, but regardless, we do have a severe weather risk, so that is definitely verifying. We do have severe thunderstorms ongoing. Now, before we get into our main discussion here of our upcoming severe weather pattern, we need to take a look at some snow chances coming up in the very near term. We are going to be talking about potentially a winter weather system. I'm not confident in calling it a winter storm across Missouri, Illinois, Iowa there. Can't think of my states for a second. And you can see this overspreads into the Chicago area as we head into late Sunday night. This has actually been trending a little bit further north. We saw the snow shield originally kind of all the way down here, but it has since trended all the way up here. So we're seeing some northward shifts, which is good news if you want the warm weather to stay around for, say, portions of like West Tennessee, right? You could see us slipping on by, not causing any harm, no damage, no nothing like that. It is a very weak system. Our total snow accumulations are going to be on, pretty much the lower side of things, but we're talking maybe around 2 to 4 inches in some isolated pockets here across portions of Iowa, Illinois, maybe even Indiana there. Near Chicago area, maybe an inch or two is going to be on the table, but really nothing significant. 4 inches, that's what you'd get on a typical Tuesday in the middle of winter. Nothing to worry about at all. Our GFS model is definitely a little bit further south, which is very interesting. It's kind of sticking with its own guidance, right? You could see a swath of heavy snow moving through Topeka, Jefferson City, St. Louis there. Even Evansville getting in on some snow. So there's major model discrepancies between the GFS and the European of how far north or how far south this system will go. And you can see even creeping into portions of northeast Tennessee, at least it tries, North Carolina as we head into Monday night. The European wants, or not European, the GFS wants some snow down to nearly Charlotte. I do not think that's going to happen, but we'll keep a close eye on that regardless. How much snow could you see out of this system, especially on the GFS model, as it is a bit strange? You can see our swath of snow, yeah, right there. We're talking around mainly 2 to 4 inches along the track, some isolated locations up to 6 inches, and for some odd reason, portions of Virginia up to 10, not a forecast. In fact, probably won't happen. Now it's time to get into the real exciting portion of the video. This is what I've kind of been looking forward to personally. This is going to be our severe weather pattern coming up, and I'm going to explain to you all why we could maybe see a severe weather outbreak or two. And this is not a forecast, but it is a possibility with the upcoming pattern we're heading into. Here is your 500 millibar map here. Basically, what you need to know is your blue and green colors are your stormy conditions, generally a bit on the cooler side as well. And then your yellow and your red colors, orange colors here, is going to be your areas of higher pressure, less stormy conditions, kind of warmer temperatures, right? So we're kind of going to play it on through here, and you're going to see a pretty substantial change, as we head into around, say, the March 5th time frame. You can see we do have an area of lower pressure kind of setting up over the desert southwest here. And this is going to be our first indicator of our severe weather pattern. You can notice your ISO lines here kind of going off in this general direction. This is what we call ascending flow. And in order to get severe weather, in order to get your storm energy out of the Gulf into your US, like your plains or southeast, you need ascending flow. And that is what we're starting to see here. And we're going to continue on through. Our ascending flow really begins to get amplified here as we get into the 5th, the 6th, and look at this. We are talking a really nice southwesterly flow here in terms of our 500 millibar winds. Underneath this, you're going to have a lot of air coming in like this, bringing in a ton of storm energy into the Great Plains, into southeast, mid-south, Ohio Valley could even get on some of the action. But remember, we do have troughing out to the west, and then we do have ridging out to the east, and this is a very favorable severe weather pattern coming right up. This trough then begins to get a lot stronger, and our ascending flow begins to get even stronger as well. And we have lower pressure making it into the Great Plains around this time. That is very important. That is when we could start seeing maybe some significant severe weather begin to occur. And again, this continues to amplify more and more. A very meridional pattern setting up as you have, like I said, big time troughing out here and then big time ridging out here, and there is a massive difference between the two that is going to cause a ton of precipitation, a ton of severe weather to move on through. And maybe we could see a pattern change after this as we go into mid-March, but not a forecast. Definitely looks very favorable for severe weather. As we head on to our European model here in terms of our 500 millibar winds aloft, and this is going to be very important. You can see we do have some low pressure systems moving into the west coast there, sparking some activity. We have a bit of a short wave moving on through, kind of a bit of a positively tilted short wave, but you have some flow out ahead of it that could definitely create some shower and thunderstorm activity, maybe even some strong storms. This becomes to get a little bit more organized off to the north, and maybe we'll see some severe weather off of that, but I'm really focusing on everything afterwards. You can see a massive trough begins to dig like this. You could see our flow wrapping around like this, and especially as we head, like I said, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th looks to be a time frame to watch. Big old bowling ball trough moves on through right here. Looks to be a bit positive, maybe neutrally tilted. A lot of strong flow ahead of it though, and that's very important to me, going right into the plains. You can see that swings on through, becomes definitely neutrally tilted, and that will bring severe weather for some areas. And then another one after that, a very slow pattern. A lot of these troughs here are getting kind of set back, and that is going to only amplify your severe weather. Look at this. A lot of flow moving right into your Great Plains region here. That is definitely something to note. We are talking about a lot of divergence here, kind of in your ISO lines. Take a look at this. Kind of spreading out like that. That is going to allow for a lot of displacement of air, which is going to cause quite a lot of precipitation to fill itself in. And this continues through. And on your 850 millibar temperatures, this is your low level temperatures here, you can see our pattern begins to set up, and take a look at this big fat ridge that begins to develop out here in the east. Look at that ridge of high pressure. Your air steering around it, all your storm energy going to be funneling right up into your Great Plains, into your southeast. Very classic pattern. We have a low pressure out here. I mean, this is phenomenal looking. I mean, if we can get a purely negatively tilted trough ejection to move right into the plains, we could be talking about a big time severe weather episode. This continues, and this stays very much in place here for a long period of time, and even after the pattern tries to change, I mean, this still holds steady, and your ridge of high pressure stays very strong. And as we take a look at your lower level winds here, another way to kind of view it, you can see we do have winds over 50 knots in some areas, so that is definitely going to be suitable for severe weather. Look at this here. Oh my gosh. You know, if that was timed a bit better, that would be very significant. And you can see as we continue through early March, you see anywhere in your red colors is very suitable for severe weather in terms of your kinematics. Look at that, just continues through here. Your big old ridge out here, steering everything. I mean, we're talking about a yin-yang ridge out here, trough out here, and your flow is just ripping in between the two just like that. So picture perfect pattern here. I mean, this is phenomenal. For March standards, I'd say this is quite impressive. As we take a look at our storm energy here from your European model, it begins to flash up starting around the 2nd of March into the 3rd. You get your minor events that move through, but look at this. Things become a little bit more active here as we head into around the 7th, 8th, and 9th of March, and we get a very big push here. Look at all of your storm energy pushing off to the north, and especially this. I mean, 3,000 Cape, that is a lot of energy going right into the Great Plains. So this upcoming pattern is likely going to favor Texas, Oklahoma, maybe even Kansas. We're talking Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, maybe even a bit further off to the east, but I don't want to say much about that yet. Definitely a plains-oriented pattern. Look at all that energy. Our precipitation here goes as follows. You can see we do have some thunderstorm activity that begins to pop up, occasionally here. Look at those thunderstorms as we head into the 5th of March. And we're going to kind of take a look at things here. You could see what looks to be definitely a bit of a boundary here setting up, and storms firing off of that and moving off to the northeast, maybe a bit of a dry line setup or a few dry line setups being possible, and definitely take a look at that there. We have some pretty well-defined supercells here on your European model too, something to note. That continues on through, and then, I mean, it's event after event after event, it looks like, so that is something we really need to pay attention to. And like I said before, this would be a very significant event if it was timed a bit better. Something to look out for. Again, it recharges itself, and my gosh, that is quite the signal. I mean, imagine this on mesoscale models like the HRRR. That would be insane. But yeah, active severe weather coming up. We're going to look at your GFS and kind of some of your same parameters here. Again, you have your low pressure systems moving through. That one looks a little bit stronger on your GFS. We have a trough coming in, looks pretty much around neutrally tilted, and again, this would be a big dry line issue here for portions of Oklahoma and Texas if that were to verify. That pushes on through. Again, we have another one after that, and then another one after that, and another one. I mean, it keeps going on and on and on. So severe weather is going to be cranking into high gear, it does appear. Your 850 millibar temperatures, again, you can see, I'm trying to go a little bit quicker here. You have your strong ridge out here. You have your troughing out here. And yeah, I mean, right here, here's a good example of it. Ridge. So high pressure, low pressure, and the flow has to be very strong in between the two due to your pressure gradient force. And that is something to note, and just wow. I mean, it's absolutely impressive. Lower level flow, I mean, we're definitely going to have quite a bit of it here. Your wind shear here cranking. You can see upwards of 50 knots of shear on some of our events coming up. Look at that there. Keeps recharging itself over and over again. And you can see, kind of just stays active here for the plains and portions off to the east a little bit. Storm energy from your GFS model, what does it look like? You could see, again, your ridge pumping in all your storm energy out of the Gulf and into the plains. Dry line threats are going to be present here in Oklahoma and Texas. That begins to shift off to the east, and then it could retrograde back off to the west again, and there is going to be a lot of activity on the way. Our precipitation here from our GFS model, what is that looking like? You can see showers and thunderstorms pushing through, say, West Tennessee, but you can see we definitely have some dry line issues here. We have storms over here, storms down here, firing off of that, moving on off to the east here. And again, I mean, it's just going to be event after event. That looks pretty significant there. Some discrete supercells trying to fire. Again, imagine if we had the mesoscale models in view. It'd be very fascinating to see. And again, more dry line stuff. And then even after that, once it recharges, we're talking about even more storms, more severe weather, and more systems on the way. With our GEFS ensemble, you can see your ascending flow is incredibly present here. Look at that. I mean, that is going to allow for a lot of storm energy, seeing your flow out of the southwest like that in your upper levels for sure. And your lower level temperature map as well does support the same theory I was talking about before. We have an area of lower pressure right here, an area of higher pressure here. Your PGF is going to be very strong in these areas, and your storm energy will be sucked out of the Gulf. Even over here it will be, and that's why your dry line will be forming, you know, kind of right within these areas here, kind of where your convergence happens between your higher and your lower pressure. Look at that. Your mean supercell composite looks like this. We're seeing already some light green values popping up, say for March 3rd to 4th. But once we start seeing the yellow colors, that's when you really need to start paying attention, when you have an ensemble mean of a 2 to 3. That will guarantee severe weather in some areas there. You could see more yellow colors popping up on our second big episode here. I mean, for sure, going to have that active pattern in place. And as we take a look at our maximum here, this is going to look a bit scary, but this is kind of like your high end. You can definitely see some higher end values. As we enter the third here, you know, the fourth, fifth, I mean, it's a very repetitive pattern. And then again, your second wave, your second wind of energy, if you will, out of the Gulf, that is what I'm really watching out for around the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, and even into the 10th. Looking a little bit more significant there. Would not be surprised to see a significant severe weather episode unfold. That being said, thank you all so much for tuning into today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to my little corner of the weather community, share this video with friends, family, and social media, and even feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Apologize, this video was a bit lengthy. I'm starting to try and get back into things again, as I haven't uploaded in a few days, and there were some technical difficulties before the video, which kind of set me back a bit. Anyways, you all stay quite weather aware in these areas, because this is not going to be the last time I talk about you all, as severe weather season will really begin to ramp up over the next couple of weeks. Have a wonderful night, everyone.